Okay, this will be a long recording. I'm going to walk you through recreating one of the layouts from the layout assignment to show you what I'm looking for. So I've created a layout demo folder. I'm going to save the image as, and I called it 3. I'm going to save it to my desktop. That'll come down as a ping file, and we'll just drop it into my folder because it needs to be in the layout demo folder. So in my layout demo folder, I have just a blank index page here and the image of 3 there. So I will fast forward when I'm doing a bunch of redundant code. I'm just going to let it run and I'll edit it afterwards. All right, we're going to start by just putting in a container to keep everything together so it doesn't spread across the whole page. So we're going to put in a container style, and we're going to just set a maximum width of 1060px, and then we're going to do margin 5px auto to center it. I won't explain things that are really redundant. I'm doing the style on the same page to make it easier to understand. And then in my body section, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a container. I'm using a shortcut tool for coding my HTML. It's called Emmett. You can see here is the link showing that I'm using it. And if you want to understand the shortcuts, I'm not going to explain them. You can just see how much faster it makes it. But if you go to Emmett.io, it has videos and shows you how to use it, and it's a great tool, and now is a good time for you guys to start using it. So you're just going to see me use it. I'm not going to explain it. It's just basically shortcuts for creating lists. So in this div, I'm going to add my image, which is, and my alt will just be wireframe 3, and let's go ahead and launch that so you can see it as I'm developing it, and we'll park that over here. Okay, that did not center properly. So this equals container, container. Let's just make sure these are talking to each other. Yeah, they're talking to each other. So why is it not centering? Okay, and I want to just add a bit of a background color here. So I'm going to do body, background. Whenever you do all the same colors, you get gray. Too dark. That'll do. Okay, so we can see where the container is, and that's not really centering. I don't know why, but I'm not going to really worry about it right now. Okay, so that's just where I've got my picture because I want to replicate this CSS layout right below it. I'm going to blow this up a little bit so I have the body back out here. I have a container, I have a header, I have nav, I have an image, I have an aside, I have section, link 1, link 2, link 3. All right, so I didn't grab my X for the image, so actually I can grab that from my other folder. Okay, so I now have a copy of the image folder pasted in here, or the image pasted from my layout one where I've done this before. Okay, so I've got my image, I've got my index.html, I've got the 3 here, so I'm trying to recreate this. So I'm going to go back into my index page, and this is what I need to create. So I know, looking at this, that my layout is going to be a container div, and in it I'm going to have a header, and inside the header I'm going to have a nav bar, and not inside the nav bar, but after the nav bar I'm going to have an image. I actually think I want to reverse that. I'm also going to need a title, or an H1, which is going to say site title. That shouldn't be appearing down there. That should be, oh, it should be. I haven't put a background color on the container. Let's drop white on that. There we go. So I did center my container, I just didn't center my image in the container. That's fine. Since I just want to center that one image, I'll go ahead and do that in line. Okay, that makes me happier. All right, so I've got my next div starting below it. And so I'm trying to replicate site title. I'm not worried about fonts or anything here. And this is the div. So the site title is here. If I want to make that look like that, I'm going to have to do a H1 padding top 10px. I'm guessing here, but that looks about right. Padding left about 30px. About 60px. That's not bad. Okay, then I've got my nav. In my nav, I have buttons. So we're going to have we can do a UL. LI times 3. And we can have, the link will be just local, and it will say page 1, and then we're going to have page 2. That's in the wrong spot. This is I do not usually code on video. Page 3. And so we're going to have to do Nav UL inline layout. And I really do look up code as I work because it's hard to remember. Okay, it's display inline block. Display block. And let's go back and look at that. List style, none. Oh, that's working. Display inline box should be putting these. Maybe I need to do this in LI. There we go. So nav that's good. And then I need to do Nav UL LIA. This is where we put in the styling for the buttons. And so we'll do padding. Five pixels, it's the top and bottom padding. That's the side-to-side padding. We're going to say background. Okay, so I've got the nav styled. Next thing I'm going to need to add, and I should, I've got a bracket error. I should do a nav after clear both. That's not going to show up anything now, but it's going to make sure everything works after it. Okay, so the next thing I need to put in here is my image, and I really want a little bit of room here. So my nav, I'm also going to need to do a margin of 15 pixels. Is that giving me the room that I want? I may need to drop in a, let's go ahead and drop in the next section after that. That's the end of my header. Header, header, header. After the header, I'm going to have, put in the big blocks here, main. And then I'm going to have an aside. It's going to float to the left. And then I'm going to have a section. And I'm going to have another section. And then I'm going to have a footer. Shut up, Ollie. Oh, it doesn't like that. There we go. Footer. Let's save and new Control S. Let's refresh. Okay, sometimes you won't see these things until you put content in them. So we can just drop a P we just want some empty content to hold these open for right now so you can see them. Oh, and these should be in the main. So we've got main should hold the aside, the sections, but not the footer. Alright, and then we can drop this into each one so it has content, because a lot of browsers ignore things with no content. Even null content like this makes the spots hold open. And you can't really see them because they're collapsing. So let's go ahead and fix that. So we've got the aside, we've got main, we've got section, and then we've got the links. So let's go ahead and drop some stuff in here. I'll come back for the image later. So we're going to have main, and I asked you guys to make these different colors. Background, I'll just pick from, and if I do the hyphen color, I'll be able to pick from the list. So I'm going to use mild colors here. Okay, so that shows you my main, min, height, we'll say 400 pixels. Doesn't look like we have a little bit of padding there. Padding, we'll say 5 pixels. So I think we don't want that as padding. I think we want that as, yeah, that's from the inside. That should be fine. Okay, so that's the main. And then I've got the aside, and they have to exist before you code them. So we've got the aside. We're going to have it float left. We need to give it a minimum height, 400 pixels, box sizing. We're just going to make it content to make that simpler. Margin IPX. Okay. Width. I'm just guessing on the width here. Now, I probably would not, in my final layout, leave the borders in, but it's going to show you where things are for right now. And so in main, you notice I'm overlapping here, so we need to do a bit of a clear fix thing. So we need to do overflow auto. That fixes it going over here, and I said we'd make each one a different background color. So we'll do back. And we'll pick aqua. Oh, that's bright. I don't like it. Background color. Still kind of bright, but that'll do. And then we will get rid of that paragraph because I don't need it anymore. It's just helping me hold that open. That's what's giving us a line there. And in here, we'll actually change this to an H3. We'll just type in the aside. And let's just refresh to pull that. Okay. So we've got the aside. I did not center the text in here. That's not a big deal. I could if I wanted to. But that's probably about right. I think I may have a little more padding than I actually wanted. Did I do that with the margin? Let's just do that as a margin top. And you're never going to get completely up here because I've got the main has padding in it. And you really, really do go back and forth. Okay, now that actually matches, except I think that would be 10 pixels for the top. Okay, so that pretty much matches. I need to put a color, background color on my header so you guys can see that. So I haven't really done anything with the header, it's just there. So we'll do header background color, dark sea green. That had curved corners, so we'll do border, and I'm going to put a border on everything, 2px solid black, border radius 5 pixels. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Still got to dump the image in, but you can see it's coming together to look like that. Okay, so now I need my section. So I'm going to have the, oh, and these shouldn't be responsive, so that shouldn't be a maximum width, that should just be a width for the container. It's not a responsive design, we'll get to those later, then we'll use a grid framework and do something else. Alright, so now I've got sections, and the sections will be styled the same. And they already both exist, so I just need to style them. So I've got section, so let's start with min height 180 pixels, border 2px solid black, width 780 pixels, box sizing, content box, float left. See how that bumps up right against it? Margin 10 pixels. Gotta make it a little smaller because it bumped down. Border radius 5 pixels. Good enough. And then background color, okay, so in my sections I'm going to again change those to H3, and I'm going to say section, and I'm going to say H3 section, and we can style all of our H3s up here. I don't think that's going to matter because it's just in the middle of the paragraph. Good enough. Now you'll notice these will get out of alignment as they grow, so the easiest thing to do is fix the aside to let it grow. The new column layouts that you'll learn next are actually better, but this is standard for a long time and it's still the standard to do div layout like this. Okay, let's look at the footer. So we've got to have our footer. Most important thing here, and I'm not going to do it first, but the most important thing will be to clear both, because if you don't, you're going to break it. So I'm going to say a min height 50 pixels, background color dark red, color white for any text in there. That actually worked. We want the container to also have an overflow of auto, because look, we're losing. Oh, that's my main. That is the container color is white. That is what we should be seeing. Let's look at container background white, overflow auto. May not help, won't hurt anything. Okay, yeah, that make a bit of a difference. Okay, so for the footer, we actually want a margin of 0. Not making much of a difference. I actually want to put right up here. So does my main section have a margin? No, main doesn't have a margin. Let's just refresh that. Footer, margin 0. Does 0 pixels matter? And sometimes it's a good idea just to clear all of your formatting. And you can do all format, and you're not clearing everything, just the padding and the margins. So for everything, we can do a margin 0px, padding 0px. You got to put that at the top, that way you override it with anything else that you customize. And that's what I wanted to do. Okay, I do actually want a little bit of space there. And that changes my aside. That's what I was looking for. That is absolutely what I was looking for. And we had a border radius 5 pixels. Looks good. And then in the footer, we're also going to do text align center, and we're just going to do simple links. So the footer is going to have three links. Oops. 8 times 3. There we go. And we'll just say link 1, link 2, link 3. Now we want to change the colors. Wait, we want to change footer A color white, padding top, actually I think we just want padding that's giving me width. Let's try 10. I'm not getting top padding. So let's put padding in here of 20 pixels. There we go. That gives me what I want. Okay. That's about right. And then if I wanted to really get formal here, I would drop in the pipes. After each one. So I've recreated this layout pretty much down here. I think my padding is actually a bit much in my footer, or I don't need the minimum height. I think the padding is pushing it out the way I want it. Yep, there we go. Okay, so that's the whole process of recreating one of those. I know it took a while, but if you watched this, you got figured out how to do it.